I just saw this morning a video about the actor that plays Mr. Milkshake in Severance. He's got such a nice voice. I wonder if I would be more popular if I had like a voice like his. I don't even know how to define my voice. As it often happens, I don't really dig my voice, but I think that's standard. Unless you actually become like famous and somehow your voice gets validated by society. Otherwise, you're probably gonna hate your voice, just as I do, and it's probably many of us do, right? Hello, hello. I'm Carlz, and I bring you this week's comic book recommendations. Yes, for that 5 people that care for my opinion. I appreciate you. Today, this week, I haven't seen too much comic news. Nothing big on the horizon, except maybe the ending of the giant size X-Men. Um, it seems that people are making a big deal out of it. I don't know. I think I'm behind a couple of issues, but that book has been quite interesting. I guess when it ends, might be worth a look back, or maybe not, to be honest, because like just Miss Marvel traveling through the different points of the story of the X-Men, sort of highlighting her spirit and like I don't know, reflecting out of it. In the end, it's quite simple. It's reminds me a lot of when DC does this type of the history of DC comics and such. Like, oh, all of these things have happened for the X-Men. Probably looking forward to or looking ahead to the December events, right? Age of Extinction, whatever its name is. Well, but besides that, I have a Fantastic Four first steps commentary coming soon. I already did it in Spanish. It's been quite a trip in my mind. Actually, I'm gonna try to rewatch some of the old Fantastic Four before I do the English version. Who knows what comes out of that, right? But anyways, let's dive to this week's things, right? This week things, and wow, what else to? I'm gonna talk about the Fantastic Four movie, and of course, I'm gonna recommend the ongoing Fantastic Four by Ryan North of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl fame, right? And drawn by Humberto Ramos, who is I don't know. I love him since the X-Men era, right? He did those awesome X-Men issues. I'm pretty sure it was him. Don't quote me. Or yes, quote me. I'm pretty sure it was him. But anyways, Ryan North, known for his Squirrel Girl and Howard the Dog and whatnot, right? He always does these. How can you say it? Like light-hearted adventure types. Of course, Squirrel Girl's strongest sort of impression was the cleverness of it, right? It was one of the most clever Marvel books for like a long time. So they handed him the Fantastic Four, and the first thing he did was like take them into out of the Baxter building and into this sort of more common family quick dynamic, right? It was kind of like cheerful, like let's have some random ass fantastic adventures like outside of New York for a while. But now we are diving straight into the event that the current Marvel event, One World Under Doom, right? Which the Fantastic Four necessarily need to come back to. I mean, it's Doctor Doom and it's Fantastic Four, right? I want to recommend Fantastic Four now, especially after watching the movie, because this run, especially this crossover with One World Under Doom, is the perfect setting for a Fantastic Four book. So in this part of the story, the Fantastic Four are separated throughout time, right? They are in different parts of time, separated allegedly by Doctor Doom, and they need to come back together. So there's one thing that they introduced the idea in the first issue, and this week is issue number 2, is that they have a secret code. They have like how do they call it? Like a master stone, or like a place where each 4 of them need to be aware of that place and use it to let the others one know in which part of the timeline they are in. Like immediately the dynamics of family are playing right out of it, right? You separate them, you give them each a chance to shine their own personalities, but in the end, what they want is to come back to each other, right? So you start dropping all the great things that make Fantastic Four great, right? Especially the family, the adventure, and the fantasy. It's like there's like no two ways of saying it. Just straight up time traveling adventure with each one of them. For this being a Ryan North comic, the issue number 1 is quite like I don't want to say like serious or sad or anything, but it's quite strong. Especially because the Fantastic Four lately on their previous solo series or their ongoing volume, it's been quite lighthearted, right? A lot of family, a lot of kids, a lot of like, but now it's just the 4 of them, right? We go back to what we love. The 4 of them being, well, pun intended, fantastic, right? It's number. I hallucinated with issue number 1 because I was craving a Fantastic Four story like the ones that I like. A lot of fantasy and just the 4 of them connecting and being a family. So there's a lot of hype, and as I said on a previous episode, looking forward for the ending of One World Under Doom. I think it ends before Age of Extinction. Is it? I keep forgetting the name of the X-Men event, but like who cares, right? It's gonna come anyways. But it's aiming towards the end of One World Under Doom, so which you gotta put an eye or the spotlight on the Fantastic Four. If it's Doctor Doom we're talking about, it's gotta be them. So, Fantastic Four, the crossover with One World Under Doom, issue number 2 coming out this week by North and Ramos. Man, I'm looking forward to getting to it. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm certainly looking forward to it a lot. Next up is Gotham by Gaslight, but now we are going straight into the sort of like the overgrown things of the matter. So Gotham by Gaslight is an Elseworld title where we have Batman, and well, it began with Batman in this steampunk sort of setting. So big disclaimer, I'm not that much of a fan of the steampunk aesthetic. I think it's been played out a little bit. So when Gotham by Gaslight, I keep saying by Daylight, it sounds like almost appropriate, right? When Gotham by Gaslight came out, I wasn't that impressed. For some reason, Batman is the one that gets like constantly brought into these Elseworld types of settings. Like he's always like more than almost any other DC character. He's like a samurai. Now he's gonna be an Aztec king or something. Like he's been ninja, whatever, right? So even though I always read or try to read anything that Andy Deagle does because I am a Hellblazer fan, so I try to keep tabs on everybody that has ever worked in Hellblazer and that I liked. But it was just an Elseworld, right? As you can guess, it was just, I don't know, instead of the Joker, I don't remember if the Joker was in it. Instead of the Joker using like I don't know, guns, he uses like steam guns or something. Like it's just the same thing in a different setting. The usage of this setting in the case of Gotham by Gaslight sort of like was what it was, right? It belonged, like as I said, mechanical things instead of electricity changed to steam and everything. It was everything so standard. But as it began to grow, it also grew a little bit on me. I didn't expect at the beginning for them to start adding other characters. and not even expecting to have a Justice League type brought in, right? So now we have Superman, we have Wonder Woman, all in the sort of like steampunk style. Like I don't know. I think it's quite charming. I think that is the word to say it. When you have these Elseworlds that are attached to a setting that has like a strong sort of personality, like if I say steampunk, most people already have an idea in their minds, right? Or on how it looks, on how characters are different, right? So there are some like ideas or like old timey ideas of class and race, right? But it's just minor. For some reason, just seeing it through Fernandez's art has been quite entertaining. I I'm just gonna say that I care for this series and I recommend this series mostly because I think it looks interesting. I'm not gonna promise like any breakthrough revelation on the characters, and as Elseworld titles go, it's not that much of a big deal. But I think it looks entertaining. It looks like attractive, and as I said, I think DC has better time doing Elseworlds than Marvel. It is more self-contained. It's clear that it's something different. I don't know. I think unless somebody is like really, 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 really fed up with the steampunk aesthetic and sort of like overall presentation, this is a fun read. And since it's focused on the Justice League, I don't think it's really necessary to go back to the rest of the Gotham by Gaslight. It's a perfect starting point in issue 2 of this kind of like Elseworld series. Yeah, it's a nice recommendation for most people that are interested either in steampunk or in the Elseworlds. As I said, DC always does this better than Marvel to my liking, the Elseworlds part. Nail all four. Speaking of not necessarily Elseworlds, right? Spider-Man and Wolverine by Guggenheim and Gerardo Sandoval. Guggenheim, of course, of the Arrowverse. Was that? Yeah, that was the name, right? The writer behind the whole Arrow, the CW, DC brand. Uh, the thing about this comic, I don't really know where it fits, like in the general like canon of it, and I intentionally chose this the Elseworld part contrasting immediately with Spider-Man and Wolverine, because even though if you are 100% clear whether this book is canon or anything, it's so strange because you have Spider-Man and you have Wolverine and you have them doing things at the same time that their solo books are ongoing, so it's just too much and it's too big. To me, the most attractive thing about this book was Sandoval's art, right? It has this weird, crazy ass style that it evokes some like early McFarlane or something. It's so fast, dynamic, and aggressive. It's almost monstrous. Monstrosity? Yeah, no, Yeah, they look like monsters. Somehow. And the big catch of this was that it was going to reveal a secret of Spider-Man's and Wolverine's past, right? So we are already in issue 4, and it's already sort of revealed that there is a big manipulation behind. I'm not gonna spoil it, of course, but there's a big manipulation that is going to sort of put both heroes against each other, and it's all good and dandy. It's interesting enough, but as I said, as you go into this book, there's so much going on with these characters outside of this book. So one of the elements that began, and I think it was issue 1 already, was that okay, Spider-Man and Wolverine are friends, but it's revealed that Wolverine was partially responsible for Peter Parker's parents' demise, their death, right? I'm not gonna say more to spoil it, right? So that is the big hook of the book. That is the big hook of it. And of course, it's interesting. I mean, Spider-Man's parents is one of these big ongoing comic book mysteries, right? That everybody likes to say and think and like, oh, I have this idea and everything. So that's a big hook if you're a fan of these characters, right? Oh, they're gonna talk about Peter Parker's parents. I'm in. But then you start of like realizing that uh, it might not go that far. And of course, it sounds that I'm critical of it, but I don't discard it. I don't discard that it might be interesting or important. And I think that is the hook, and I gotta say it works. I'm not like a particularly a fan of this book at all. I feel like this idea from the beginning, this thesis about Peter Parker's parents, was more like a how can you say, like a publicity hook than actually a real content. And as I said, in both of these characters' other solo books, there's so much thing happening and like much more interesting that it might be a good side read. At least the art is great and the action is great. And of course, you can never fully dismiss the potential of these books. And when I say potential, it's potential for something like important to happen, right? On their own lore. So Spider-Man and Wolverine, fun read. A little bit might be a little bit deceiving, but interesting enough to keep an eye on it. Like if you take into account that it right now you have Spider-Man and Wolverine, you had Wolverine and Deadpool, you had Wolverine on his own doing some really intense stuff too. You have, I don't know how many Spider-Man books are there. I think there aren't that many. But anyways, it's a great side read. But like, I would say pick it up if you are really into Spider-Man. But don't lose sleep over it. It might not. It might probably won't be that important in the end. And I wish they would make it way more clearer where on the timeline these crossover books happen. Who knows? But anyways, issue 4. It's not that late to pick it up. Next. So this is a big one. This is a if you're a DC or Superman fan, this is a big one. So this is Black Label brand, or like how do you call it, like it's like an editorial, like a subspace. I know there is a formal term, but like it eludes me in English, right? But it's like an imprint. In imprint, I think that is the one, right? So they are releasing a Superman book for Black Label, which is something that, mm, let's just say Black Label. It's a little bit more. I hate the word edgy, but Black Label is a little bit more edgy, a little bit more like where you touch topics with a little bit of more like an adult oriented type. Like they might get more violent, they might get more serious. So of course, if I say there's a Superman book coming to Black Label, it's already like something to like open your eyes to, right? But if I say that there is a Superman book coming to DC Black Label, led by, as it says in the cover itself, the acclaimed team behind Ice Cream Man, W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo, right? You open your eyes even wider. I've talked about Ice Cream Man before. It's this Image Comics horror anthology, right? With like as an anthology, it has a bunch of stories written by a bunch of people, and they are all horror oriented. But the editorial behind Ice Cream Man has been like nothing less than stellar. The stories they have picked up, they are not just doing horror for the sake of horror. It's not just shock value. They have been clever, they have been smart, they have been funny, they have been even like full of heart, sad. Like the stories that they have picked up for Ice Cream Man have been great. So that's the resume, right? That is the opening statement. A Superman book written by the people by Ice Cream Man. So the synopsis is that there's have been more colors of kryptonite being found, right? And of course, Superman needs to go and deal with it. For people that don't know, different colors of kryptonite do different things to Superman, right? We all know green weakens him, red sort of enrages him. Um, Now they introduce in the Dance Lot book. Is it action? Is it action comics? But they introduce a couple of new ones. One I think depresses him, and the other one turns him into like a Mega Man or something. But whatever. Each side of the spectrum of kryptonite or color of kryptonite does different things. So of course we are gonna expect Superman's sort of like emotions being pushed to the max. And I said this during my Superman the movie, like the recent James Gunn movie, when I did my commentary on that movie. I talked about how uh, important it is for Superman to be vulnerable, right? To show this green Superman. But I also talked about how the stories I enjoy the most about Superman are the ones where his values get challenged. They have used the idea of the different kryptonites before to challenge Superman values, like to make him do things he wouldn't normally do. That has already happened. So what is the appeal of this version? Two things, and I already mentioned it. It's on Black Label and it's by the team behind Ice Cream Man. I'm not gonna expect Superman to do like some perverted stuff or like going that much into the extreme. I don't think DC will allow them to go that far with Superman, but I think the mere fact that they allow them to do it implies that they probably allow them to go as far as they could possibly do before breaking everything, right? So the idea is super interesting. It taps straight into what I like about Superman and the stories, right? And as I said, the immovable wall of values being challenged. And the thing with Kryptonite is that he can't help it, right? So hopefully they're gonna do something really entertaining and creative, and they will go beyond what you can see like in regular Superman stories when he gets, I don't know, okay, he gets into red kryptonite and he gets a little bit more angry. Ooh, so he gets a little bit more violent. Hopefully they will go a little bit beyond that in this book. So I'm really looking forward to it. I might have to skip into it, like move a little bit forward because as always I'm a little bit late. But anyways, Superman the Kryptonite Spectrum, this week out by DC Black Label. Super interesting. Super interesting. Looking forward to it. And the last book I'm gonna recommend this week is another author that keeps popping up on my recommendations because I just like him a lot. The book is by Image Comic and it's called Bug Wars by Jason Aaron and Mahmoud Asrar. I talked about Jason Aaron before, right? All of his incredible mood setting. I don't know how else to call it. Like he's one of the most verbose type of authors, but I love what he writes. He writes the perfect ambience for whatever story he's trying to make. I recently recommended him for Absolute Superman, and I just love how he sets the mood, how he tells stories with like descriptions and like with general, how can you say, like he tells the story not mainly by what the characters are saying, but by describing what the characters are feeling or like what they are doing. So Bug Wars, this is issue number 6, I think. Yeah, it's issue number 6. This is the end of the first arc of this story, and I don't want to spoil it, but basically, it's about this kid that gets somehow. I'm not gonna spoil anything. He gets shrunken down to a bug size, and what he discovers is like something that is out of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I don't know, Toy Story, Small Soldiers, etc., etc. He discovers a whole complete functional sort of like bug world that is right on his front lawn, right? Like right in his front lawn, and the fun thing is like this sort of like micro bug society is like some shit out of Conan the Barbarian or something. Like, and it's full of war and like full of cruelty and like violence. So this kid gets drawn into that, and he realizes that the fact that he's a human makes him. Of course, you have the hero trope here, right? Or like the chosen one trope. So he has extra abilities, right? He becomes sort of like a chosen type of figure, and it's a little bit trope led into that. Like in general, it's a really trope led series, like Conan in like, as I said, with bugs. And but what I like about it is that somehow it keeps like it keeps the drama intense for some reason. For some reason, like the mere fact that he's on his front lawn, and like as they reveal more elements of what happened to his dad, which is everything is interconnected, right? What happened to his dad, about his family relationships, and like how the drama of the big world sort of seeps into this bug world, right? And as I said, the book doesn't let up. It's like intense in every way, and it's intense in more ways than one, right? Like it's strangely political, it's strangely violent. The chosen one tropes they get on and off as something magical. It has even like a strong sexual element to it, which was kind of surprising. Like it has really strong sexual elements, and as a sexual elements, I'm not just talking like about like them having sex and that's it or something like that, but like there's like some eroticism in how the characters behave and how they display, since they are like sort of like in the more savage side. So by issue number 6 now, it's the end of the first story arc of the book. There has been a lot of revelations about the the main character's family. Why is he there? Like, what is his connection to all of this? There has been a lot of revelations about the inter politics of the factions at war. It has been really complex, and as I said, it's all told from this sort of like a brilliant sort of narrative that Jason Aaron always does. What is telling the story like a book. Um, of course, you need to juggle these concepts like book, comic book, visual novel. But what I mean is like you could perfectly pick out like all of Jason Aaron text boxes and have them make into a book. So there's a bunch of ambience and a bunch of context that is introduced by the text, and then it gets just like sort of like pushed into the like the incredible art by Asrar, and you get this epic story told into like by bugs and everything. It's quite amazing. Um, in a nutshell, it's a story for like indeed Conan the Barbarian type of fans. But if you read Aaron's work, like there's this element that is not just barbaric as in Conan, but as I often say, and I often like to say because it's the thing that I like the most, there's a human element that is so strong. So when you have these stories that they read and they feel like an open wound, right? They are like soft to the touch at every turn, and that's how it feels to read a Jason Aaron story, like an open wound, like really soft to the touch at every turn. So it's been really interesting. And now this I do recommend going back and of course reading the whole first story arc. And well, I don't know if it's a good point to jump in when it's the end of the story arc, but I guess it's better now late than never, right? But anyways, Bug Wars by Aaron Asrar by Image Comics. The end of the first story arc. It has been great too. Super fun. And beware furries because there's like a there's some of it too. And that's been this week's comic books. Man, it's always a good week in comic books, I think. There is so much of it. There's so much of it. Like you can help being delayed or anything, but there's always something exciting to look forward to. And I've just given you a couple of lucky listeners just a glimpse of my upcoming interests in weeks. So thank you so much for listening to me practicing English while I talk about passionate subjects. I hope you get to read, how you get to get your physical copies of whatever super hard to find variant cover you want. Whatever. If you're collecting, if you are reading, as long as you are reading and enjoying and having a good time, I'll have a good time too. So thank you for listening and read on, and hopefully we'll see each other or hear each other next week. Take care. Bye bye.